Welcome to the Prosperity Podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to drop the hustle and earn more. I'm your host, Danielle Amos, business and success coach, certified Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant, and lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I'll bring you amazing entrepreneurs who have built wealth, harnessing the power of their mind. Prosperity and money are truly about energy, and I'm on a mission to help you create financial abundance through the power of thought. It's time we started normalizing conversations about money and create the wealth that is yours. Are you ready? Let's do this. Welcome to episode 160 of the Prosperity Practice. This is Danielle Amos, and I am your host. This is the podcast that has you living your most abundant life. Today, I have a very special guest on with me. Her name is Adele Tevlin. Adele is the creator and founder of the CEO Blueprint, a transformational development company. She is a behavioral expert and pattern interrupter that uses a masterful combination of cognitive behavioral therapist, CBT, neuroscience, spirituality, energetics, and psychology to ensure clients achieve the transformation and breakthroughs they are committed to making in their lives. Over the past 20 years, Adele has specialized in helping business owners, entrepreneurs, naturopathic doctors, physicians, lawyers, realtors, and more create and produce massive elevations in their leadership and performance. Not only does her work apply to the business environment, it allows her clients to incorporate her methodology into their personal lives and relationships. I have known Adele for quite a while, actually. Her and I were in a leadership program over a decade ago, and we connected there, both being, I was a new entrepreneur, just actually leaving the corporate world, and she was already an entrepreneur, both of us in network marketing. And we came together at that time briefly, and knew very much of each other and our leadership. And now the universe has brought us back together. We're actually currently in the same mastermind. And we've had so many synchronicities in our lives currently through the experiences and the hardships that we're going through. Not going through the same thing, we're just going through things. And we've found great value on leaning on each other and finding the support of our mentor and our coach and our communities. And today's conversation with Adele is raw, it's real, and I invite you to listen, contemplate with us, have a discussion with us, and notice what you notice. Reach out if it resonates. We're here for you, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. Enjoy. Hello and welcome. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Adele Tevlin, and Adele and I have known each other for over a decade. In fact, we were in a leadership program together way back when, and our lives have come full circle and have brought us together again in a mastermind called Unity. And as soon as I saw Adele's name, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this powerhouse woman is joining our mastermind, and she's only brought so much value, so much integrity, so much wisdom, and I'm grateful, Adele, to call you a friend. I've like to have you come back into my life, and at this level, we're seeing so many synchronicities in our business and our life, and I'm grateful to know that you're there. So welcome to my show.
Don't make me cry already. It's not going to take much today, but I'm already like, weepy. But I feel the exact same way. I feel very much like, your soul is always guiding you on the exact path you're meant to be on with the right people at the right time. I feel like when we knew each other in a previous lifetime ago, it was more like 15 years ago, I think. We were like these to know Danielle and I then, it was like we were these like hyper, like, masculine type A personality, like I was working on Bay Street, like, and you thought you had it figured out, and I thought I'd made it, only to realize I was full of absolute fucking shit. And
and it was all ego for me. It was like all ego. Yeah.
It was all ego. It was all wounding. It was all that stuff that you and I both teach. And what's so beautiful is our life has come back full circle, where I feel like we are exactly where we're meant to be, doing exactly what we're meant to be doing in the highest expression of ourselves, with this idea of like being led by the divine and having this beautiful, I'm just really, really grateful for the rekindling of our friendship at this level as well, and just feel very supported by you. I'm so excited to be in the mastermind with you ladies. And yeah, it's given me more than anything this feeling of sisterhood that I've not had in a really long time. Because I think you and I've talked about this, like when you're sometimes at the top, whatever that looks like, whatever, it feels very lonely. And I said this to my husband the other day, like sometimes I feel so alone because I'm going through so many things that I don't think a lot of people can understand. And, but I do feel really heard, seen, and understood by you and all the other women in this mastermind, which is, I think, the purpose of a mastermind, right? It's to feel held and supported and seen and understood. So it's been a really beautiful journey. And I'm so excited for our chat today because I'm in a place in my life where the evolution of me has been becoming more and more honest about who I am, dropping the parts of myself that are the identity work, where the part of me that I thought I was, to really reclaim who I've always been. And part of that has been really speaking my truth from a place of integrity, not a make wrong, but really standing in my truth, really looking at places where I've betrayed myself along the way to people please, and to really restore that level of integrity with myself, because that is really my biggest core value. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I love that we both speak the word integrity and that and know its value. Ultimately, when I think of integrity, if I don't have integrity with myself, then then my word isn't law. So then when I say I am ... my goal, and I express that, and if I don't know myself to be that, I'll never have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to add moreover to that is like the way that you and I just talked about that this morning in one of my programs. I said, one of you and I both started off at Landmark, and it was the big foundation of the work for me, and I'm forever grateful. But one of the things that I have found, and my husband as well, who led programs there, is the way that integrity was distinguished in that space it was very much based on, I gave my word no matter what, and I will betray myself to keep my word to somebody else. And I have come full circle, having been in this work now for 20 years as a cognitive behavioral therapist, as a mindset coach, as a transformational coach, as an inner child therapist, that it is not integrity to betray yourself to meet someone else's needs or to keep your word. That to me feels like the wrong way to look at integrity. And I think it actually explained why for so long I betrayed myself for so many years, but I didn't think it was a bit self-betrayal, because I was like, well, I gave my word, so I got to do it. And I gave my word and I got to do it. And I gave it. And I thought it was this moral high ground of like, look at me with all this integrity. But deep down inside, I was broken, exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, full of rage, full of resentment. So part of how I've reinvented integrity for myself is to contemplate the question, is it truly integrity if I'm betraying myself to keep my word to something else that no longer feels like it aligns with my values? Is it really integrity when I keep self-betraying the voice inside of me, the quiet voice within that might be saying, you need to take a break, or you need to take some space, or whatever it is that it's guiding you to say, but your ego is saying, but I gave my word. My word is law, and my word to other people circumvents my word to myself. And so I've been really playing around with, and I said this morning as a caveat, because I do need to say it because everyone will hear this very differently at different levels. This doesn't mean you just stop honoring your word to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's coming to mind is the word loyalty. So for me, a high value, I have integrity, but also loyalty. And that word loyalty, I realize that because I value it so much, they're different words, obviously, integrity and loyalty, but and at the same time, because I value being loyal, I found that I'm loyal at the expense of being loyal to myself. So it's a very similar conversation.
Absolutely. Like, and so it's this really interesting, because I think it is this really beautiful nuanced thing where, I talked about this as well, where in the spiritual community, I've found that people can like spiritually bypass this way in certain ways, where they're like, I've had people, and I've talked about this, where you can go to one pendulum can swing in one side and say, well, I know I'd given my word to this contract to do the program, but I had people say things to me, honestly, Danielle, and I'm not taking a piss at them, but this is truly stuff that I would hear in my business. Like a monk told them not to do the program anymore. And like, they would come with all of these to just because they couldn't pay the contract. That's not integrity. That's actually not honoring yourself or somebody else either. So it's kind of like the real thing for me around integrity is that I honor myself first, and in honoring myself, I honor other people, because it is not of service to other people if I'm miserable, unhappy, and not taking care of myself. And I think that's how you and I kind of started this conversation before we press record. Is
with loaded question. How are you?
Yeah, she asked me how are you? And I was like, well, that's never been as complicated as a question to answer as today.
Mm-hmm.
And how am I truly is really, my life behind the scenes has never been more chaotic, crazy, scary, hard to reconcile in a lot of ways than ever before. Mm-hmm. But my level of strength, mastery, self-trust, integrity is still at an all-time high. And so I'm living in this massive duality or polarity around, how do you continuously show up and lead at the level that you and I lead? Because you and I lead at a really high level, meaning like I show up for my community every day in Morning Mindset Club. I had a few weeks ago, the police at my house probably three or four times that week. And I would be talking to the police downstairs based on an incident that was happening in my personal life. And then be like, pop up for Morning Mindset Club, lead Morning Mindset Club, then go talk to a detective, and then go talk to because I'm like, okay, like I've given my word. And so these are the courses and the times, and this is the things I'm still showing up for. And I'm able to do that in this, I had a therapist once say to me, Adele, she said, you divide yourself really well.
I can relate to that.
You can. You and I are so similar in this way. It's like I can put on the compartmentalized leader Adele version and have almost like the most powerful conversation in Morning Mindset when I'm just going through the fucking mud. But is that, and this is kind of what you and I were talking about, what I'm really starting to ask myself, and I don't have an answer to it yet. It is kind of a raw contemplation. Is that actually in the highest and best good for me to do that all the time? And where is the line between, okay, I've given my word, people are here, people have paid for this program, and I want to show up every day, and like I've also been really dealing with a lot of sadness, a lot of almost like moments of breakdown, to be honest, over the weekend, like just where like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And that's really just me being radically honest, like, because for people that are listening, what I'm really out to cause is that we break this paradigm that leaders are perfect and we put them on a fucking pedestal and then we dehumanize them, and rather show people that I'm someone that used to suffer from depression. That's why I went into this work. And when I start to see symptoms of depression coming back up, in ways that scare me at this level, is that an opportunity to say, Adele, you have to take care of yourself. It's not integrity to just lead the program because you said so.
Yeah. Yeah. This is such a timely conversation for me, as many of the listeners know that I've been going through personal heartbreak and circumstances that have been really challenging. And I led a master class. We didn't postpone it. It happened shortly after Lily's passing, my niece's passing. And I made the decision to lead. And I've asked, so is it for me first, like showing up, like what's the benefit? What's in it for me to show up? And does it actually help me or hinder me? And what I've realized, and when I asked that question, I was journaling, and a statement that Bob Proctor would say to me, and I went through a really hard time in 2017 and in my marriage, and I showed up at a conference, and he said, and I was in tears. I had got some medical news that was not good, that wasn't great for my marriage. And he said to me, you have a choice. You can either allow this news to be what puts you in the corner and cry, stop everything, which would be granted, justifiable, like this is shitty. Yes. And everyone would understand.
Yeah.
Or you can lean in and serve. And he quotes Dean Briggs about doing your work and doing a little more for the lavishing's sake. And when you do, the skies will clear. Mm-hmm. And I didn't listen in 2017. I went to the corner and cried. And it took me out for 18 months, in fact, quite a while.
It's so powerful.
And so in this moment, a couple of weeks ago, I actually remembered for myself, his voice came back, and I asked, I'm like, it's okay if I go in the corner. And I've actually been in the corner for the last week crying, and I took time off my programs. And right now I'm like, what if there's something in this quote by Dean Briggs, and if I serve and I don't make it about me, if I go beyond and I allow that to, like, my purpose to drive me, what would that feel like? And I've shown up before where I've just muscled through it, and make compartments of myself.
It's one of those ones that's just so hard to say.
And I've shown up and I've muscled through it. And that felt different. That felt like I was putting on a hard shell to like show up and do what I said. And it was different this time in my masterclass. I actually instead really felt like and you actually helped me with this, Adele. Like, you asked me the question, like, what would it look like if I was authentic in my heartbreak and showed up with that emotion with the lens to serve?
Yes. Yeah. Like I told you to lean in to the vulnerability of it. And that part of, so there's so many things you're saying that they're so powerful. Like, one of the things is, does this hinder me or help me? And I think that's a really great distinction. So I think what got me through 2019, 2020, 2021 was that 2022 is that I leaned very much into being of service to other people, even though a lot of what's kind of come to this climax right now in my personal life was already behind the scenes happening since 2019. And it's been 4 years of court and lawyers and escalation of personality disordered stuff, a lot of emotional abuse for me that I didn't even reconcile as emotional abuse, to be honest, because when you're being abused for so long, you don't know it. A lot of cyberbullying, like, just there was so much crap, Danielle, like, that I will one day write a book and share my story, and people, and the title of the book will be like, "What's your fucking problem, pussy?" Like,
why are you in the corner sucking your thumb?
Yeah, like, exactly. Like,
I'll give you something to suck that thumb about.
Yeah, I'll show you a real fucking problem. Like, seriously, like, so all of this was already happening. And so I leaned into, because I remembered this do a little more for the lavish of it. That totally being of service, and being of service saved my freaking life. Like, it literally was like, I would come in and I wasn't compartmentalizing. I was actually always very real. Like, my whole community always knows, like, I'm in court today, and without going into the details, but of like very much like my life is pretty much an open book. That's how I choose to live it. I cannot fucking fake it for the life of me. I show all my emotions on my face. And so I may as well lean into the truth and the vulnerability and the authenticity of it in a mature way. And that's my group's always like, thank you for just being so mature in your vulnerability, because there's this difference between oversharing versus leaning into like, I'm not okay today and I'm here to serve anyway. And I think that has that really served me for 2019, 2020, 21, 2022. Coming into 2023, and I think this is where what you said is landing even for me, I've noticed it started to hinder me. And I think it started to hinder me, and maybe it's not just serving, but I think serving at the level that I've had to show up every day. There hasn't been what I've done, because this is part of our makeup. You and I are very similar this way, because we have been trained with integrity from Landmark in this way. We already hyper masculinate. We already sort of let the ego lead a little bit, sometimes too much. And so because that is already my disposition, what I am finding is it's hard for me to take the space to do the real healing I need to do, because there's this constant pressure of showing up. And so what I'm finding is that it's kind of like right now, is this helping or hindering my soul? The first answer is it's been hindering me a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Right there, your intuition, your inner being's guiding you. And so then what comes up next? So if that's the answer, then it's like, okay, well, we've got to cancel.
Yeah.
Like it's just is. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, like like the mind's going to start to go bananas on that. Like people paid for this. You know, how am I going to explain this and all the repercussions of that? However, your intuition's always right.
Yeah. And so what I've come to is that I had, it's funny, I had already said to my team, I would like to take the month of August off. This is before all of this got kicked up. This is back in, it's like, your soul literally fucking knows. Like when you're tuned in and tapped in, like you and I, it's hard to deceive your higher self, because it's like, literally 3 months ago, before all of this shit got kicked up again, I said to my husband, I said, I really would love to take the month of August off. I don't know why. August just felt like the right month. I'd love to have, in all my programs, it be an integration month, a pause, give people like some homework, some contemplation, some real be present with your family. Like, let's do like some kind of challenge. I already had this all mapped out in my mind. And my husband's like, this is brilliant. This is going to be great for everybody. You show up every freaking day for 4 years. Like it's, and so I was like, I already had that planned in my mind. I told my team was like, let's get everything sorted so it can happen. Fast forward to the last 4 weeks have been just pure chaos. And it was kind of like I had already set myself up to take this space. And I normally would never, like, it has been really hard for me. And I want people that are listening to really hear that for most people, they wouldn't think twice about taking this space. They would that's what they do all the time. But then there's people like you and I who are still asking permission, I don't know from whom, to like God grant me the permission. I built a business so that I feel like a slave to it, or I built a business so that I can have freedom and lead by example and show other women that they don't need to martyr themselves, that you can take space with a high level of integrity, that you can take space while still taking care of your community, that while every time I take care of myself, someone in my community always says, thank you for leading and showing that this is possible, because so many of the women in my groups, they are trained to burn themselves out because they actually don't know how to advocate for what they need. And so I am taking August off. I'm going, I know, like you're hearing it here first. I haven't even really told everyone yet. I know, I'm taking the month of August off. I have not done that since I think 2018 or 2017. I'm going completely unplugged. This is gonna be very hard for me. I'm going to go totally offline.
Yeah.
do the deep healing that I need to do. I'm going to really give myself everything that I need so that I can show up in September and Q4 like another level of myself, because I want to give my best to people. And I really don't think that we can truly give our best to people when we are living inside of self-betrayal or abandonment of self. And I truly believe that something brilliant will come through in this space that I get to have, that I've given myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I first of all, congratulations.
I know.
Oh, good.
Street named after me.
Here's the thing though, because you said like, most people, when hard things happen, they do take the time off and they just go and, like we said, go in the corner and cry. And there's a difference though. So I want to really make this distinction for everyone listening, because there is the person where the things happen and they go and they sit in the corner and like it is what it is. And, like the pieces fall where the pieces fall, they come back and perhaps they're not necessarily doing intentional healing work during that time.
Yes.
And they're distracted. And then we've got the second version where we learn to show up authentically, or maybe there's two versions of the showing up. It's like the one where you create the compartments and you're like putting on the hard challenges, showing up. And then the other version, the more emotionally intelligent version of the person who's able to process their emotions, be vulnerable, and show up without being perfect, without giving the details and oversharing, like you said. So there's like two pieces there. And then the next person is what you're describing, who honors herself, that knows that intuitively August is not meant for her to show up. And so, but it's very different, because you're not going in the corner like a victim.
Oh, no. I'm actively pursuing healing. I'm actively pursuing like some level, I want to call it, I don't like this word so much, but it's what's there, like rehabilitation of self. Because how can I, with integrity, lead people to heal and to honor thyself and to not self-betray, and meanwhile be sitting here doing that at the expense of I don't know what? So, I'm not sitting in the corner and crying. I'm actively saying my soul needs nature, my soul needs space, my soul needs a technological break, my soul needs to work with a specific type of therapist that can truly help me understand and process some of the really extreme situations we've had to deal with that most people will never truly understand. Constantly fearing the safety of your child, and being on high alert and in this fight or flight mode for so long, dealing with a level of, like I said, emotional bullying and abuse for so long, has its toll on even the strongest person. And to you, what I said to you before we pressed record, and I'm going to say it here again, most people, if they had dealt with what you and I are dealing with in the last month, they wouldn't get out of bed. And the reason we even do still get out of bed is because of the work that we teach, embody, live by, breathe by. Like sometimes, like there are mornings, like even this morning I woke up and we got some not so great news about what we're dealing with yesterday. And Dave and I were just kind of beside ourselves yesterday. And I said, let's just sleep on it. And I woke up in the morning, and I don't know if you probably had this after Lily passed away, but you wake up and you're like, was that a bad dream? Like, is this really happening? And Dave, he looked at me, he goes, is this our life?
Yeah.
I looked at him and I said, yeah, but God is good all the time. And the fact that I could even utter those words while in so much pain is a sentiment to who I've become as a human being. I don't just teach this stuff and then like it's bullshit and I don't really believe it. It's like, I think the only reason I'm still standing right now is because I'm like, Adele, your soul has chosen this path. There's no other path. This is the path. And this can break you or this can make you. There's a lesson in this. And God is good all the time. So even though it doesn't feel like it's working in your favor, I do believe that everything is always working out, and that there are going to be obstacles, and there are going to be trip ups, and there are going to be issues in our marriage, and there are going to be things, people pass away. There are going to be life circumstances, but it doesn't mean you're not on your path.
Yeah.
And so we looked at each other this morning and he was just like, what, like, you feel like you're in upside down land. And I said, I know, but I have to believe that God is good. Like, I have to, for my sanity, believe that God is good. I have to believe that everything is always working out in my favor. I have to believe that my soul is here to, like, our soul, and you and I both believe this, our soul is here to grow and learn and evolve. And how does it?
This is the way.
What?
This is the way.
This is the way. I mean, it's through challenges. The soul does not grow through ease.
Yeah.
It grows through tension, basically. It grows through cracking through ego consciousness. It grows through recognizing where we need to establish boundaries, where we need to take back control of our life, or whatever. It's constantly teaching you the exact lesson. And in any situation, you can be the victim of it, or you can see that there's no problem. There's just the opportunity for the lesson. Now, that's easier said than done, because when you're fucking in the shit, you are human. And there have been days where I'm just like, I cannot do this another day.
Which is why support systems, coaching, mentorship, mastermind, finding sisterhood is so important. I couldn't imagine, like, I now know why I said yes. And I'm never without a mentor. I'm sure you're the same. Several coaches, several programs.
Absolutely.
It makes so much sense why I said yes now in hindsight.
Oh my God, I just got goosebumps. Me too.
Yeah.
I actually feel that I don't know how I would have gotten through the last month or two without having you and Melanie and the whole Unity community. Like, I feel like every woman in there has just been unbelievable, and not like bullshit rah, like, but real care. Like, your mentor reaching out to you and saying, how can I support you? Like, what do you need? Do you need a call? Do you need a massage? Like, what do you need? What do you need? Like, no one else asks me, Danielle, what I need. Half the time, people don't give a shit about what we need.
Well, they also, I think, at our level, assume that we've got it all taken care of.
Yeah. Which I said this morning, I don't wake up and fart on a bed of roses. Like, I literally wake up and have like fucking shit hitting the fan at such high velocity. Like, so, and the only person that really asks me what I need is my husband and my coaches, mentors, and this community, my team. But most other people, they might pay you for mentorship, or that they're in your community, and they just, they assume that you're a robot or you don't need anything or whatever it is. And so to have a place to feel like I truly have felt so cared for, and you're right, like, perhaps this is why I joined this group. Like, it's, well, I've gotten so much benefit from a business perspective. I think the human perspective has been what's carried me through really hard times.
Yeah.
Because how can you really tell people what you're going through who are at such a different level of consciousness that, like, to your point, their biggest problem, and it's just, we're all at different levels of consciousness. As your consciousness expands, your problems get bigger. That's the law.
Totally.
When I think about
I think that, like, do you think that would scare people? Like, I've often thought, because I've had these conversations in master classes and in the community, it's like, the more money, more problems. It's like the rap song, isn't it? Like, it is the truth. And so then I'm sure people allow that to take them out.
Yes, but that just proves the level of consciousness, because it's not a better than or right, wrong. It's that when I think of who I was 10 years ago, I literally would have never survived what I'm going through, but I've had to grow into the person I've become to be able to hold this level of stuff. And it doesn't take me out, or it will take me out, let's say, the same degree that someone will get taken out by seeing a cell phone bill and getting really freaked out about paying for $200. So it's proportional to your level of growth. So what I mean by that, so people are really not confused about this, when I think about who I was 10 years ago, and if there's no way God would have presented me with this challenge, because it would have killed me. Seriously. Like I probably would have been in a mental institution. But because I did the work to expand my level of consciousness to hold more, when these problems arise, they are hard, but they're probably equally hard to what other people are dealing with that I look at and think that's nothing. That to me is, why are we even stressing about whether or not you should pay $150 for a program? Like, why is this the thing that you are not sleeping about?
Yeah.
So it's all relative. And so when people use that as an excuse not to grow, it's an excuse not to grow because your life of safety where you are is actually not safe at all, because you're still frustrated about why you don't have money or why you can't afford things, and you stress about things that shouldn't even be stressed over because there's a solution to that thing. And so you use this as an excuse or sabotaging strategy because, oh, Adele's telling me she has all these problems. You have problems too. You just don't get to experience the flip side of the great stuff that I have. That the fact that because I am who I am, we can go rent a place somewhere for $20,000 a month and not even blink about it.
Yeah.
That I can hire the best lawyers in town and not blink about it. That I can take the month of August off and not blink about it. So it's both. It's both. Both sides always exist. And so, people are, if you're going to get scared by this conversation, that just is a level of your consciousness that shows that you're not ready yet, and that's okay. And that there's still more growth, there's still more learning, there's still more letting go. And when I look at how strong I've become and how strong, look at who you have, like the fact that you lost your niece and you basically maybe just took a week off of, or something, like most people would take 6 months, 7, 8, 9, like a year. To your point, it would be totally warranted. But you gave yourself the space that you needed. You cried in the corner, rightfully so, and you got back up.
Got the healing.
Got the healing, got the support, just drink a bottle of wine every night. Like you intentionally took the space. And I think there's a difference to that point around intentional space versus reactive space.
Totally.
Like, this is, for me, August is intentional space. It's space to do something I've secretly wanted to do for years, but didn't have the balls, the chutzpah, and the courage to ask for what I needed.
Yeah. And that's so good. And what's interesting, what I got when you were sharing about wanting the space in August and you wanted this month's back, it's almost like the universe, God's giving you no choice but to take it as well. Like the way that the events, you know what I mean? It's like you do it or we're going to make you do it. You know what I mean? And
that chills.
Yeah.
Yes. I totally feel it's like you do it or I'm going to make you do it.
Yeah.
So, and in that way, when you think about it from that context, if it's God's plan that I take a break, there must be something beautiful that will come from it.
Oh, huge. I mean, the space is where we create like that blank space, the healing, like just not being busy. And this is really the opposite. So I want to say, because I do know people that have taken time off, but then they're scrolling the whole time on Instagram. That's not what we're talking about.
Oh, I'm talking about like if I'm basically putting myself in like a rehab facility of my own making. Like basically I am going to hire the best. I've hired the best therapists. I am, unplugging. I'm meditating. I'm breathing. I am doing all the things that I need to do to heal. And, I think on the flip side of this, there'll be a beautiful lesson. I can already see that comes through because I know I'm not alone in dealing with emotional abuse, in dealing with high conflict situations, in dealing with the trauma that comes from consistent trauma over time. I mean, we just came through COVID. That was a trauma in and of itself, but add on top of the COVID trauma, dealing with this level of trauma on top. And so there were so many compounded levels of trauma. And I'm a trauma-informed therapist. Yeah. It's a whole other level of being trauma-informed. I'm like, I'm also going through the trauma. Like I had this great conversation with a colleague of mine who's also a psychotherapist. And we talked about how during COVID, we were so busy because everyone was dealing with trauma and we were there, but then no one was really helping us with our own trauma. And this is like this new thing now of like, who's supporting the person supporting the trauma.
Totally.
And, COVID was hard on all of us, and never mind other life events.
Yeah.
So, it takes, I think, a lot of courage for us to have this kind of a conversation. I'm very passionate about this because I I sort of feel like where I would typically have shame or guilt or fear of what people would think, I now have a real sense of knowing that this is part of my path and part of like your mess is your message.
Yeah, that's really good. I really think that during the month of August as well, there's a lot of opportunity, because I'm sure the feeling of wondering, like, was this the right decision, most likely will come up. So it'll be interesting to see, how you navigate that on a day to day. And just like, I have full faith in you, really using the time to create something beautiful and be with your family and heal. I think, yeah, good job.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. And I want to say this as a sidebar before we wrap up, is like, here's how you know the distinction. Like, am I using this as an excuse, or is this what I need?
Yeah.
The distinction, and for everyone, it scares me shitless to take the month off. That's how I know it's not an excuse. Why? Because I'm a workhorse. I'm addicted to my business. I don't know how to fucking relax to save my life unless I'm forced to. Are my team going to be okay? I've had to like plan this for so long because I'm such a control freak that this is not like easy for me. This is hard for me to wrap my head around, not being on my phone, not responding to what everyone else needs, not worrying about, is this being taken care of? Like, as my husband would say, you're a control freak in recovery, honey. Like, yeah, like I'm going to I'm not afraid to call myself out. So it's not an excuse, because the excuse would be to continue to bulldoze through it, because the business can't survive without me. But then, do you really have a business that's working for you, or are you working your business? Like, because right now it's like, if I feel like if I step away, it will be a very great also piece of evidence to show, have I built myself a business that I can truly lean back from and feel supported in?
Yeah, that's really good. You mentioned like how you know that this is the right move and not
Sabotage.
Yeah, it's really doing the opposite of your paradigm, your programming, because your programming would be to work through it.
Yes, definitely.
And so it's bringing up so much of the fear, like you just mentioned. And
through it, I wanted to say something to that, to work through it and justify that a week is enough.
Yeah.
Because I've taken a week, but like, to work, and this is what I've already found myself doing, is like, do I need the month? Like, all of these mechanism, the pattern, the paradigm is like, do I need that much time? Like, maybe 2 days is enough. And it's like, is 2 days enough to heal 4 years of trauma? Probably not. Mm-hmm. A month is probably not even enough, but it's a great start.
Yeah.
So your point is accurate. It's like the opposite of what you would normally be programmed to do.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I found myself in a similar place, even after like taking the time, because I had just taken the time off to be in Mexico for my own retreat. And when I took time off for Lily, and it's like, I haven't been in the community now for a couple of weeks already. Can I do more of this? Can I, and so
yeah,
I get it. Those, like, the questions are right there that we've got to work through. Yeah. Not logical. And that's where the power is.
Absolutely. And I think it also comes with a level of discernment to know yourself enough to know the difference between, I need this is hindering me or helping me. I need this because my soul is saying I need this, versus my ego is saying it's, and I think you and I, this is the work we teach, is like knowing the difference between the voice of fear and the voice of God, and what do we know is that the voice of God doesn't speak through a voice of fear.
Totally.
Right? The voice of God says, go do this. It's a nudge in a direction. Why would I have the nudge to take August off? Like, it was so random. And then it was like, oh, you have no other choice but to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really calls on trust, faith, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
So good.
Oh my goodness.
I basically just told you everything before I told her.
Before you took the world. So you heard it here, folks.
Yeah, you heard it here.
Prosperity practice.
Yeah.
Adele is off for the month of August.
Don't call me.
You'll find her with me walking through the forest.
Yes. There'll be lots of walks through the forest. Absolutely.
So Adele, please share where our audience can find you, and obviously not in August.
My team will respond, but and I'm sure you'll link this all up, but I hang out the most on Instagram. So I'm at Adele_Tevlin. I respond a lot to my own messages. My team will be there for me in August, but I love Instagram. I love hanging out with my community and answering DMs and all that fun stuff. So find me there. And then you can, I have my own podcast. I do a lot of great reels, a lot of great copy, like a lot of great free stuff. You can get a flavor of what I'm all about just by hanging out on my Instagram. So yeah, that's
so good. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, please send a message. Like if you have a question or you resonate with Adele's story, go follow her, go send her a message. And really, I ask if there's something here for others that you share the podcast, to give us a review and a comment and help us get the word out there that other women and really need to hear this. So I thank you for that. I thank you for listening. And as always, expect abundance. Okay. So that conversation with Adele really made a difference for me personally. I know it has impacted you as well. Please go follow her on social media, check out her links, and send us a message if this podcast resonated. And if you found value, please go ahead now, subscribe, comment, and share. I'm grateful. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of The Prosperity Practice. This is Danielle Amos. Expect abundance.